Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Disney Deconstructed podcast. I'm your host, Lain Calder. I am joined tonight by Spencer Bennett.
Yo!
And the amazing, awesome Joseph Johnson. Hello, Joe.
Hello, how's it going, guys?
It's going great. Thank you for being
amazing.
here.
Yeah,
The glue of the show has
The
returned.
glue has returned to reinforce us. Jake can't be here because he's still camping. He goes camping for a long time, apparently.
Him and his girlfriend just disappear into the woods. Yeah, they just go away. Yeah,
they just leave.
That's some fan.
We're not sure if they're real or just kindred spirits yet. They could be both.
So it's us three tonight, and basically we're going to be playing a game. We're not really going to talk about any news because there really hasn't been any, and if we're going to go into news, then it's impossible to not just go on tangents about DC fandom.
It kind of broke the internet this weekend. Yeah.
So it's like, we're not going to talk about that because Spencer has another podcast where he will talk about that.
Yeah. If you, woo. If you follow the Deconstructed Podcast Network on Instagram at Deconstructed Network or our YouTube channel, if you've watched any video episodes of the show, then you know that we launched a new comic booky show called The New Adventures of K-Man and Spence, which is what me and my roommate refer to ourselves as because his name is Kieran. So he is K-Man and I am Spence, like Batman and Robin. I even designed the logo to look like the New Adventures of Batman and Robin series. So,
oh my god,
yeah,
that's amazing.
It's really fun. We just started today. We're going full back into reading. We started a pull list today at a comic store, so we'll be reading different issues of Batman, Superman, the works. And if you want to hear me get really, really sweaty about DC fandom, you'll actually hear the sweat. Then check out that episode. It airs on Fridays. But yeah, every Friday now on the Deconstructed Podcast Network, The New Adventures of K-Man and Spence. And it's going to be fun. It's a good time.
Nice. So check that out. And then you'll hear about DC fandom because we're just going to avoid it. So instead, we're going to play a game. And basically, it's going to be sort of a ranking game like we've done in the past. But in this case, we're ranking Walt Disney World parks based on their best and their worst attractions. So for each park, we three have made individual answers for what's the best attraction, what's the worst attraction, and then we're going to compare them and probably just end up fighting. That's the fun of it, right?
Let's debate, baby.
Yeah.
Which park would we like to start off with, boys?
The one that is usually the most controversial to talk about is Epcot. A lot of people have a lot of opinions on Epcot, so let's just swing for the fences here.
Dive right in.
Round one.
Let's dive right into that crater hole of construction.
All right, yeah. I want to hear Spencer's answer first for what's the best.
The best?
Yes.
So I had to think long and hard about this. So I was thinking there were two trains of thought going into this this game we're playing of
two trains.
What do I think is the best attraction, and what's my favorite? Because those are two different things. It's like movies. There are movies that you're like, wow, that was like an excellent piece of art, and then there are movies that I really like that are really dumb. And they're both special to me, but in very different ways. So I went with the latter. I went with
trying to separate yourself.
Yeah. So I went with the latter of saying, you know what, I'm gonna have more passionate opinions on the things that are my personal favorites versus things that I think are great. So that's what I'm doing with my list. So if you hear something and you go, that's a ridiculous take, that's why.
Okay.
So my best at Epcot is not that hot of a take. So I just needed to preface the rest of this game. But Spaceship Earth is my best attraction at Epcot. I think Spaceship Earth is Epcot, and Epcot is Spaceship Earth.
Wow.
It's the perfect way to start and end your day because it just basically tells you what you're about to experience. It's a really cool, innovative ride where you get to see amazing art and like animatronics and set pieces, but it's also teaching you something and it's making you feel like proud to be a human being. It's kind of how I felt when I got off Spaceship Earth, where I was like, man, humans are tight, y'all. And then you think about everything bad that we've done, and then it's not fun. But Spaceship Earth is great.
So it's like it left out all the bad parts. Like it's okay, it's okay.
I think Jake refers to it as like the thesis statement for Epcot, and it really is.
100%.
So
yeah, I mean, I whenever I have friends that go to like Disney World for the first time or just like Epcot for the first time, I'm like, the ride that you need to ride first is Spaceship Earth. Like that's like the beginning of the day.
Right.
Also, there's never a line within like the first 2 hours of park opening. You can just walk straight on.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It smells like chalk, which I really like.
It does smell like chalk. I never thought about it.
It smells like chalk.
It smells a little chalky.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Is that a good or bad thing?
It's somewhere in the middle.
It smells like the 80s.
Yeah,
like I guess that's what the 80s smelled like.
The 80s really had a big chalk scent.
A little hint of chalk.
Yeah.
Well, my best attraction was also Spaceship Earth, Spencer. I agree with you 100%. I think that it's like it's the coolest because it's like it's got that Pirates of the Caribbean feel, you know, where it's a really old ride. And I think I like that for what it is. Like I like the Frozen ride well enough, but I like the sort of vintageness of it, I guess. And then it's like the thesis statement to Epcot, so it's a standout in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, Joe.
Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and just make that 3.
Oh,
so it's a clean table. But so yeah, like basically just kind of going off of what really all of you guys said, it's like it's really just the thesis statement of Epcot, and it just feels like amazing, like getting to ride through that. And it's kind of like just setting the tone of like what Epcot is. Now obviously that tone is changing, so I'm interested to see how they're going to work in storytelling. I think there's a lot of potential there with making it about storytelling and not about technology anymore. You know, I'm just naturally concerned as like someone who loves the nostalgia of that ride. But I would have to say, I almost, because like Lain, you mentioned that you really liked Frozen Ever After. I almost chose that ride.
Wow.
Me too.
Believe it or not. Like,
Wow.
It's, the thing that did it for me was like 2 things why I didn't choose Frozen Ever After is one, the faces on the animatronics are screens. So it just
they're
feels
projected
weird.
on.
Yeah, and the skin tone doesn't match. So I was just like, you could just tell it feels fake. And then second, it's what makes Spaceship Earth for me is that last sequence when you're like looking at Earth and you see all the stars. That by far is like better than any moment in Frozen for me.
Yeah. It's got like an unreal climax for like a ride where you build it up, you're like, oh, this is amazing, and then you see Earth and you're like, whoa, and then the music hits. Like, first of all, like incredible music in that ride, like unbelievable piece of music, and it all hits you like a ton of bricks. And then
do you think they're going to change the music for the renovation?
I don't know, maybe.
Or
it's so iconic like a bunch of at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, that would make me upset. But it's the music is so iconic that I think it'll stay. It might get like a reprise or like a new, like updated as far as like the music goes. But I mean, I think the theme of Spaceship Earth is like it'd be like taking Yo-Ho out of Pirates. You just be like, what? Like what?
Like where'd it go?
We're just gonna play the Pirates movie theme now and not have no. It's not. I love those movies, but no, that's not gonna fly.
Yeah.
What you said about Spaceship Earth, Joe, about how you're interested to see, because the update's supposed to kind of change the focus from technology to storytelling. From the beginning, I always thought that was like a natural progression. I think like technological advancements of like human beings are as like synonymous to being like human as like storytelling is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think storytelling will never go anywhere, and it's like kind of the essence of life a little bit is stories.
Yeah.
So I think I always thought it was it was going to be like a really compelling change. I mean, who knows what's going to happen now? They did delay it for forever, and they just need the parks to be open as much as they can to make money at the moment.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's I'm on board with the idea that they pitched us. Who knows what we're actually going to get at this point? But
is Spaceship Earth like closed right now?
It's open.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's open. It's running pretty well from my understanding, because a lot of people were concerned that, because like before the pandemic, they were like, oh, is it just gonna like start to fall apart because they wanted to do like a renovation and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because I know it was having some issues, because last time I rode it, it stopped 4 times in the ride, and it wasn't because someone was like, you know, doing wheelchair access and that kind of stuff. Because I asked a cast member afterwards, I was like, hey, why'd it stop? And they're like, it was the system. And I was like, oh, great. So it really does need renovating. So I think it's going to come sooner rather than later. My guess, it would probably close before the end of the year, or whenever the Ratatouille ride opens. That's when I could see them closing it and like shifting their focus, because they're still building Harmonious. And if you look at Spaceship Earth and what was the show? Illuminations. I feel like those shows kind of like went hand in hand. Like, you know, Spaceship Earth was the thesis going into the park, and Illuminations was the conclusion paragraph of the day. And everything.
That's a super good point.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not think about that.
Could
so
write
if
a paper
Harmonious
on
is
that.
still be, yeah, put that down on paper. But like, you know, they're still building Harmonious, and because BioReconstruct is like posting pictures every single day of like them making progress. So if that's opening and it's talking about storytelling and it's using the IP of Disney, my guess is you're going to see kind of like the same themes transfer over to Spaceship Earth. Obviously, we're going to see Harmonious before Spaceship Earth, but I think Harmonious will set the tone for the renovation. So I'm kind of excited to see that new show.
Yeah, no, me too. Illuminations was so iconic to Epcot in the same way that Spaceship Earth, the current iteration of Spaceship Earth, is so iconic to Epcot. So yeah, that is a super interesting point. Hats off to you, Joe. That was great.
Thank you.
He's an essayist at heart.
Yes.
Oh.
Joe hitting us with that philosophy, man.
Yeah, man. I'm literally the Greek philosopher in the ride that's like teaching. Well, no, he's a math teacher. Never mind. I got my facts wrong. He's a geometry teacher. Darn
You were
it.
this close to sticking the landing.
That close.
So we've talked about what is the best attraction at Epcot, but we have to talk about what is objectively the worst attraction at Epcot, which in my opinion is Journey into the Imagination with Figment.
I knew that was coming.
It's just shitty, and there's a good ride in there, but it's definitely out of date, and you know, things are falling apart. You know, animatronics don't work, and they're still like there, which is weird, and they're just not like activating. There's weird like lighting problems. It's just like kind of falling apart, and they're just kind of letting it. So in order for it to not be the worst attraction, it needs to get like seriously renovated. But as of right now, I do think it's probably realistically the worst attraction in Epcot. And I hope you take that answer, Spencer, as a lover of the ride.
Yeah, so here's going to be the ultimate curveball for you. I also chose it as the worst ride.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Whoa!
I really
But
thought you'd try to like fight me.
Right. Well, but here's the difference: is I still like it. I think Epcot's great. So there's nothing in Epcot that I would say like is terrible. I think Journey into Imagination needs some love. That's always been my stance on the show. I think that's a direct quote actually from our Epcot episode where I went, "It needs some love." But it does need love. There's a reason that Figment is such an iconic character in Disney. Like the dude was just he was just an animatronic in a ride, but he actually now is like a marketable IP. Like Figment is a thing, is a super popular Disney character. I see people when Disneyland was open, I would see people in Disneyland with Figment shirts all the time. Like even locals from LA who like probably never go to Florida know who Figment is. Like if you're a casual Disney fan, you know who that purple dragon is. And so to me that means like I've seen YouTube videos of the old ride. It's really hard for video from like the 80s to do an attraction justice. But it was at one point incredible, and there's so much potential to go back and do that. And so I agree with you, but in its current iteration, yeah, it's not great. But I can't hate it because I like that purple dragon. I think he's fun. And I think he, again, is like a synonymous with Epcot too, is Figment. So, but I cannot lie and say that the current ride is great. It's not great. I like it for what I just said, in that it makes me nostalgic for something that I never actually experienced, which Disney is really good at. You ever thought about that? Like Main Street USA is like turn of the century, like 1910s and 20s. There are barely any people who were alive then still alive right now. And everyone's like, oh, Main Street, yes. Like, I feel so, this is such a different place in time. And I'm like, yeah, but you weren't there.
You never were there.
You don't know. Disney is like packaging nostalgia for something that you didn't experience, but we all get nostalgic for it. I think that's the magic, is making you nostalgic for stuff that you never could have experienced. But you do. You're right. That's what's impressive. That's the cool thing about Disney parks. But
I really like that point. Holy crap.
Yeah. Dude, Joe, you and I like this, man.
Wow. Okay, well, I accept your answer, Spencer. It means a lot to me that you finally like saw the truth that it is bad. I had to come to Jesus moment about Journey into Imagination. That's nice. Joe, what do you think is the worst attraction at Epcot?
Well, gentlemen, I think we have a clean table.
Wow.
It's Journey into Imagination with Figment. Like, I almost would have to, as much as I love Figment, you cannot get me on that ride. Like, I don't,
wow.
Like, I don't know what it is. It's just, there's just something about that ride that just kind of, like, for me personally, I get really mad when there's like a lot of missed potential, and especially if they just leave it there. Mm-hmm. And what the weird thing is like the Imagineers from like multiple interviews have said, yes, this is bad. And then it's like, what are you guys going to do with it? And then it's kind of like, they don't really say anything. And they're kind of like, oh, it'll get love one day. And they just kind of like leave it sitting there. So in a way, I just don't want to go over to the Imagination Pavilion because it feels like a storage closet where they're just kind of like, we're just going to leave that over there because we want to, like, it felt really weird. As much as I loved, and obviously it's canceled or like indefinitely paused, was the Mary Poppins Land. Mm-hmm. As much as I loved that idea, I was like, why did they announce this before anything for the Imagination Pavilion if you're updating all the other pavilions? Like, because like Mission Space is getting that new restaurant. They're updating the not Horizons, that's gone. What was that pavilion? The Gold Pavilion? My mind's blank.
Spencer?
The Gold Pavilion that they're putting the Play Pavilion in.
Future World.
No. It was the energy, right? Like the what's it called?
That was the Ellen one. That's becoming the Guardians of the Galaxy. But there's like a gold one where Bodyworks was in.
Interventions? No, not Interventions.
No. My mind is totally blank. But
me
they're
too.
Updating
but I know what you're talking about.
Everyone knows what. So they're updating all the other pavilions. Like every single one is being updated. Even Soarin' I heard is rumored to be getting an update.
Oh, really?
I heard some grumblings about that on the internet. I don't know how much of that is true.
The Eiffel Tower won't be a parabola anymore.
It's going like this the entire time. Oh my God, I cannot stand that. Disney, just please actually go film it. Get a helicopter and film something. But I was just really surprised that they didn't announce anything for the Imagination Pavilion just because they're updating everything else in Future World. I just figured that they'd put all their focus in Future World and then slowly and gradually go over to World Showcase, kind of like, one step at a time, like Ratatouille, and then probably eventually Coco, because it keeps on being teased, but they never announce it. Because if you go in the Epcot experience where they have that movie where they explain everything coming up, they have like on the model in the middle, they have like the guitar from Coco, and they have some other like references going on. So I'm like, maybe it's slowly get there, but I don't know. I really just want them to update that ride because like Disney knows it's bad and they just don't want to do anything about it, but they just want to slap Figment onto some merchandise and think everything's okay. And I'm like, no, like please do something with Figment.
Are we talking about the Wonders of Life Pavilion?
Wonders of Life.
There it is.
There we go. There
Google,
we go.
folks. Google.
Google. But yeah, I mean, I'm just surprised they haven't announced anything for that specific pavilion.
Yeah,
that's true. It is weird. I don't necessarily know if they would even announce it, because the majority of refurbishments to existing attractions just kind of happen. They'll do they won't even do a press release. They just like file like documents to do construction, and then like one of the trades who follows theme parks will like break it and be like, new changes coming to this. That's like what happened with Snow White and Disneyland, which has been closed for a while, and now I'm sure we'll be nice and ready to go by the time they open. But
hopefully,
yeah. But I mean, it is very surprising that we haven't at the very least heard that there are plans to at least refurbish the existing attraction, because at its current state, I mean, it's definitely tough. And when you're riding with people, it's a lot of majority of the ride goers are all just kind of like, what?
Yeah.
Like, what's going on? There's Figment just farted. Is that what just happened? There's like a fart scene. There's
now there's a singing
scene.
Moon. And that's the last thing we see.
And then the world flips upside down. And you're like, did they spike this or something? Am I on drugs? Like, what's going on? Yeah, it's a sad conversation to have, but it is one that needs to exist.
Yeah,
you know, you need to talk imagination refurbishment into existence. Speak it into existence. You know.
All right. Let's move on to Hollywood Studios.
Oh boy.
Let's start with Joe this time. What's your best, man?
My best? So I think a lot of people thinking right now are probably going like, oh, obviously it's gonna be Flight of Passage. And I'm like, no, I would actually have to disagree. For me, it's actually Kilimanjaro Safaris.
Ooh.
Yeah, the reason why I chose this and not Flight of Passage, or like I'm talking about Flight of Passage specifically because that's like my second favorite and I kind of go back and forth. It's like, even though I like love it to death, it's the same attraction each time. And, you know, you have so much, what's the word? Like, you know, in-depth like experience where when you're walking through, everything's just like super detailed and it's like, you know, spectacular. The ride itself is just phenomenal. But I would have to argue that Kilimanjaro Safaris is basically the same exact thing because it really makes you feel like you are on like a reservation in Africa. And it's like super, you know, you just really feel like you're there. And the cool thing about the ride is that, number one, it actually features a tour, which I was fortunate to do at one point before the pandemic ended, the Wild Trek tour, which is like really cool. And I kind of count that as the same attraction. That's just a me thing though. Because it's like, it's actually like there, like you're walking through the attraction and you're getting in a vehicle and like riding through the attraction yourself, but in a private vehicle. At one point,
it's like the VIP Kilimanjaro.
Yeah, it's essentially like a VIP thing. I really recommend it. It's like a really cool experience. And you get to eat lunch on the Savannah too, which is like, it's really cool. But the thing is too, it's like, it's different every single time. Like even the basic experience is like, just, it feels like a premium experience and it's like different every time. So that's what I like about it. It's like, what are the giraffes up to today? So you can just like write it and it's different as opposed to where if I went on Flight of Passage, I know exactly what I'm getting every single time. So I kind of like the, what's going to happen this time on Kilimanjaro Safaris, which makes me love it.
That
so
is
much.
a very fair choice. I think in the same way that Spaceship Earth is the thesis of Epcot, Kilimanjaro Safaris is kind of like the thesis of Animal Kingdom a little bit.
Totally.
Yeah.
It is like the thing to do. It was like the flagship attraction when it opens, and it's still like the most classic Animal Kingdom thing to do. So I would I don't agree, unfortunately, but I think that is a very solid choice.
Way to ease him into it.
Yeah, I had to butter him up before I took him down.
Okay, Spencer, what's your take then?
My best in Animal Kingdom is my personal favorite is Navi River Journey. I know it's super, super bold to like that more than Flight of Passage, but in my heart of hearts, I am a dark ride person. I obviously love roller coasters. I love thrill rides. You know, like they are like what keeps the business going. You know, they're the money, right? But dark rides are to me like the spirit of the Disney parks, the art of the Disney park, the thing that make people so fanatic about Disney parks are dark rides, versus other resorts like Six Flags and Universal, which have great. I mean, Universal has great dark rides too, but like a Six Flags or a Cedar Fair or something like that has great roller coasters, great thrill rides that are amazing, but there's not like that heart and soul to it as much, I think.
Right.
So my favorite types of rides are dark rides, and I just think River Journey is arguably the best dark ride. The only knock is that it's kind of short. That's the only thing, and that whenever that gets countered, it's correct. It is short.
Yeah.
But I remember that
Very
first
short.
morning. Yeah, we went on in at probably like 6 a.m. We had like that extra magic morning at Animal Kingdom.
Yeah.
And I remember we like strolled in, had fast passes, and we were like, okay, here we go. Like we're all half asleep. I hadn't even had coffee yet. Like I was grumpy. It was a whole thing. And we sit down, and the three of us the whole time, like from the minute you like your boat goes, we were like, what's going? Like what? This is insane. Like there were effects that I couldn't even tell if they were physical or screens. Like some of the best use of screens is in that ride. Yeah. And it's just beautiful. And like this is coming from someone who likes James Cameron's Avatar. I could definitely take it or leave it though. Like, but it in my mind is better because like those rides exist. And River Journey is just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And then obviously the animatronic at the end might be the best animatronic ever built. Granted, I haven't seen Yeti in A mode, and who knows if I ever will. But
it was pretty solid.
I wish I could agree, man. I wish I could have seen it. That is like my biggest L is that doesn't exist. But I'm gonna go with River Journey, man. I think Pandora is the best attraction overall in Animal Kingdom. Like just the land itself is gorgeous, and I think River Journey takes the cake for me. But I get Kilimanjaro. I get it, man.
Yeah.
But I don't
so
get
quick
it,
question. I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So do you what do you say to the people that say Pandora doesn't have a place in Animal Kingdom because it's fictional animals as opposed to the real animals and everything? Because I'm not one of those people. I just think it's an interesting conversation that's like, why do we have fantasy elements in Animal Kingdom? And I think even like Joe Rohde said, I mean, you know, obviously he's backing up Pandora and everything because he helmed that project. But people are asking him in an interview, it's like, hey, why isn't Zootopia coming to Animal Kingdom? And he's like, well, it's not really about like preservation. And they're like, yeah, but it still has like animal themes. I was just wondering your take.
For the first part of that, like that it's fantasy. Animal Kingdom from its inception had a fantasy land in it. It was gonna have Beastly Kingdom, and that got canceled. And so I think they were always okay with that. The opening statement for Animal Kingdom was something like, "Here's like the natural world, both mythic and real," and it was a whole big thing, kind of how the Walt Disney, very famous Disneyland one, "Welcome to this happy place." But it was they alluded to it there, and the logo still in the gate has a dragon on it. So I think. Yeah, like the park that we got post Beastly Kingdom cancellation was very grounded, but from its inception, it wasn't intended to be. They were going to have some type of fantasy element. As far as like Zootopia not being in Animal Kingdom, because Joe already says doesn't have any conservation efforts to it, I think Avatar the movie and Pandora is really about like kind of environmental issues. As much as I don't think it goes into it that much, it's kind of just it kind of falls victim to being a big action movie at the end. But there are interesting ideas in the beginning, and it's basically just Pocahontas with blue people. It's
a very extended metaphor.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I still think that metaphor is present, and Joe Rohde, being the brilliant man that he is, latched onto that and ran with it. Because I'm sure Disney came to Imagineering and said, hey, James Cameron's movie, like the biggest movie ever at the time, he wants to do a land with us, and we're going to put an Animal Kingdom, whether you like it or not. So pull out all the stops, and you're going to make something cool. And Joe Rohde said, all right, well, what can I get from this movie? Watched it and went, that fits with Animal Kingdom. I'm going to make that, and it's going to be the best thing ever. And it's like the best thing ever. So I think it's it's probably like making the best out of like not the best situation, even though like it's not, it works perfectly fine, and it's a wonderful land.
I think that like Pandora also still has this like through line of like life in general, which I think is somehow stressed in Animal Kingdom, is like life and, like you're saying, conservation and that sort of thing. So I think that it does work. I would love for there to be a Zootopia in Animal Kingdom, but
and agreed. Like I see what Joe Rody's saying, but I also like disagree. I think Zootopia would be great. Why not?
Yeah. My personal favorite attraction in Animal Kingdom is Expedition Everest. Just because it's fun. It's a roller coaster, and it's just, it really fits with the theming, and I love not just the ride itself, but kind of the storytelling that goes through the whole village area of Animal Kingdom. And I really like how things are told so subtly with like the decoration on the walls and stuff like that. And you can just kind of get lost in that queue where they have like all the storytelling and like sightings of the Yeti and stuff. So I think it's just, as an experience, it's my favorite experience in Animal Kingdom.
Yeah. I definitely love that museum.
Yeah.
Cool.
You can Oh, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
Oh, no. You go.
No, I was going to say, because you said at Everest, and I was going to say, I'm not going to disagree with anyone's take on what's the best thing in Animal Kingdom, because I think Animal Kingdom is the best thing. Yeah. And you could definitely argue with you. You could say anything. You could tell me your favorite ride in Animal Kingdom is Primeval Whirl, and I'd be like, no, I get it. Yeah.
It's gone.
Is it really?
It's closed.
Wow.
Forever.
But I mean, I never got to ride it. That's okay with me. It looked like just a wild mouse roller coaster, but Dino Land's cool. I think Dino Land gets a little too much hate. I like Dino Land. I like the theming of it.
We can argue about that if you want.
Let's bring it to the worst Animal Kingdom attractions.
Ooh, that's a good transition.
Oh boy.
It's
Joe.
I'm sorry. Did you say Spencer?
No,
Joe.
Oh, you said Joe. Oh,
yes.
My bad. I'm so sorry. It's actually not in Dino Land. So okay. You'll be happy to hear that. I actually love the ride Dinosaur. I think it's great. All the rumors of people saying, oh, well, they could just like turn that into like Indiana Jones Land and everything. I'm like, please don't. Please don't do that. Just update the ride. It'll be fine. But mine is actually, because Lain, you said it was okay to like choose shows, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, it's tough to be a bug. I just think it's a waste of space inside of the Tree of Life, and you could do more with it. Don't get me wrong. I'll still go watch it. I think it's funny. And like Spencer, what you said, like you could choose anything inside of Animal Kingdom. I love Animal Kingdom. I'm not really going to like argue too terribly much unless it's like carnival games in the middle of a Disney theme park. Looking at you, Dino Land and Pixar here. I just think that they could do more in that space and not necessarily like, hey, let's put a Pixar IP in the middle of the park.
Right.
Especially one that's from 2001, something like that. Not hating on A Bug's Life or anything. And like, I understand how they're trying to like fit and incorporate that into the themes of Animal Kingdom. I just think it'll be like really cool if there was like this is me just going spitballing right now. If there's some kind of like walk-through attraction in there where you're walking through like the tree and just like looking at different conservation, like preservation stuff. Just I think that would be a better use of that space rather than like, let's make the people laugh with fart jokes and poke them in the back of the neck and like really hard so it hurts.
Well, my worst attraction is Dinosaur. I just don't like it. Well, okay, I'll say that I like it. But it makes no sense in terms of Disney. It's like a horror ride. And
that's fair.
Especially it's positioned right next to like the kiddie park of Animal Kingdom, and like it's just a scary ride. And on top of that, it's kind of the same issue that's with Journey into the Imagination, where it's like it's just been sitting there for a long time, and there's multiple animatronics that don't work in the ride. Like there's a specific time where the car slows down and something's supposed to jump out at you and you hear it, but you never see anything jump out at you, but it still like makes the noise like you're supposed to be seeing something. And it's just bad. I just don't like it. So that's my rant about that.
I'll disagree with you on Dinosaur,
okay.
but you know, I like Dinosaur a lot. I think it's so cheesy and old and wonderful, especially the beginning. And like that's our dino. That's not my dino. Like Dr. Grant Seeker is incredible and maybe the best character in literary fiction of all
Bill
time.
Nye, dude. Bill Nye.
Yeah.
Don't forget about him.
Yeah, dude, come on. You're arguing for it now. It's got Bill Nye. But my worst is actually Cali River Rapids. I expected a lot more from it when we went on, especially because our Lane's old local Disney park, but my current local Disney park has Grizzly River Run, and Grizzly River Run is awesome, and it's really long, and it's one of few rapid rides that I've been on, rapid style rides where I felt fulfilled afterwards. But I feel like I got a real bang for my buck versus like at Six Flags or at Knott's Berry Farm. Actually, I haven't been in the new Knott's one. I've heard they refurbished it, but at like at Six Flags, the rapid rides are like 30 seconds. They just go in a circle. But River Run is long. And Cali River Rapids I appreciated the theming, especially as like an environmentalist kind of message, because I am an environmentalist. I've mentioned that in the show before. I don't eat meat. I donate to stuff, whatever, who cares? But
wow, you put that in the newspaper?
Yeah, there you go. Whatever, who cares? But I just think it's too short. I think it swings for the fences, but it hits a single, you know. It doesn't that was a great baseball metaphor.
Yeah,
I'm proud of myself.
Wow, that was good.
I don't even like baseball.
That was crazy.
But I think
I knew exactly what you meant from that. That was crazy.
Right? Dude, thank you. Yeah, I'm proud of myself for that. But it's too short and there's not enough thrills to it. And I do think with a rapid ride, there is kind of a quota of thrill you have to achieve. If it was like a slow moving boat ride, I'd probably be super big on it, but it just doesn't do enough as an actual functional ride for me, as much as I appreciate the theming. And I would agree with you about It's Tough to Be a Bug if it didn't not exist in California anymore, because now it's like the only one left. And I will always be nostalgic for how horrific that show is. Like when the spiders come down from the ceiling, it's awful. Yeah. But in like the best way. Like I get really excited and then I cower in fear. When we were at Animal Kingdom a year ago, I went on it by myself because Jake and Lane went back to the hotel to take a nap. Rightfully so. It was like 105 and like 98% humidity.
Fucking awful, dude. It was terrible. Yeah,
but I stayed because I was just so committed to my love for Animal Kingdom. And I said, you know what? It's been a long time since I've been on It's Tough to Be a Bug. I'm going to go do that. And I did it. And afterwards I went, yep. That's what I remember.
Yeah. That's it.
That's It's Tough to Be a Bug. But
I would, like kind of to comment on both of you guys' things, because I totally like, I would have to agree more with the Kali River Rapids, because it's just kind of like, I almost wish there was like a theming, like when you walked around that area, you're like, is there deforestation going on here? So because it's like because you know when you get on the ride, it's like, look how beautiful all this is, and then literally there's a line, like a literal line where all of a sudden no trees. There's a bulldozer. There's a tree on fire, and it's just, it feels kind of out of place. And that's my biggest, like,
it's
with it being
heavy-handed.
Shorter. Yeah, like it just kind of happened. Like I don't know. It
doesn't feel as organic as it could.
Yeah,
I agree.
Exactly. Yeah. And then with the so I have to like push back like a little bit what you said about Dinosaur. See, the thing is, I don't think it can be compared to Figment, because in Figment you can actually see everything. In Dinosaur, all you need to do is just turn off the lights in that specific area and make it loud, and then leave it up for the imagination of being like, what is over there? Like, is it going to come out? But like, I wish that some of the animatronics would work better. And then that, like, because the last 3 times I rode that ride, probably over the course of like a year or something like that, the dinosaur, the big,
the Carnotaurus.
The Carnosaurus and everything, it wasn't running towards the vehicle. It just like stood there. And I was like, You need to get that thing working.
So bummed when we rode it because I had seen so many YouTube POVs of the ride, and I was super hyped for that effect because it looks crazy, like it's running at you. And we went on it, and the vehicle stopped, and it's like, oh boy, here we go, time to like get really scared. And I look, and it's just like staring at us, and I'm just like, oh. Well, that's disappointing. And then we drive away, and then you get to the other one who's like, "Rrr," and it's the same thing. But I'm in a mood today, guys. I don't know why. I'm just acting out dinosaurs, but here we are.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, but we will be right back to talk about Magic Kingdom. And we're back. Thank you for joining us. Let's talk some Magic Kingdom, boyos. I think that the best attraction is objectively Haunted Mansion.
Ooh.
Because it's, it's classic. It's better than the Disneyland one, in my opinion. And I don't really like to take a whole lot of opinions on like better attractions and whatnot that are shared between parks, but Haunted Mansion is objectively the best one in Magic Kingdom. That's objectively better than the other one. I think it's spookier than the Disneyland one, in my opinion. Does that make sense, Spencer?
Yeah, I think so. In all honesty, I don't remember the Florida one as well as I would like to.
Oh.
And I don't think that's any fault of its own. I think my brain has turned into mush in the last couple months of doing nothing. But I would agree with that. I think Disneyland's is a little it's probably is less significant, I guess, because they switch it with the holiday overlays. You don't get it as much.
Yeah.
But I think that the Florida one is like extra good because it has to justify not being Nightmare Before Christmas, Haunted Mansion, which like is a controversial take of mine, is like the superior of all the attractions is the Haunted Mansion Holiday. Haunted Mansion Holiday is incredible. It is super cool if you've never seen it. But I'm not going to argue with you. I'm a spooky guy. I like the Haunted Mansion. Joe, hit us.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna agree with Lain here. I absolutely love the Haunted Mansion. It took me until I was like, 11 years old to get on that ride.
Wow.
So like a solid 10 years ago. That's so weird to think. I was scared of that ride 10 years ago.
It's spooky until like when I was a kid, it used to freak me out too. Then every time I get on it, I'm like, oh no, it's silly.
The ride I was always
exterior is very ominous.
Yeah.
The ride I was always petrified of as a kid was Indiana Jones in Disneyland, because
That's totally fair.
As a kid, I thought that the curse was real. So
that's why you don't look in the eyes, Lain.
Yeah, it tells you to like keep your eyes closed the whole time. So I would literally close my eyes the whole time I was on the ride, and I would just get.
That's great.
I used to be scared of the big snake.
Yeah,
dude, that thing is actually like it so
massive.
Freaks me out. Like I don't like to be on the side that it's on.
Now I purposely seek it out, and when it comes to yell at us, I like yell back. Like, we're going through, and everyone in my car is like, "Who's the psycho who's yelling at the snake?" And it's just, that's me.
That's me, guys. But yeah, no, I absolutely love the Florida version of it. Like I really do like the Disneyland version. Because what the portion I like about it is like actually getting to walk through the mansion at that one point. Because I thought that was pretty dope, as opposed to, once you get out of the stretching room, you instantly get on the doom buggies. And so I feel like I just like the build up to like, oh, you're going to the doom buggy. But I also appreciate how they handled that part in the ride of like, getting the ride through the portrait gallery. So it's like, I almost like, I hate to like compare the two attractions, and I don't know, like, to be honest with you too, just seeing the Hatbox Ghost makes me like the Disneyland version a little bit, like just like that much more than the Walt Disney World
Hatbox is the man,
dude. He's great. I remember seeing that for the first time and like freaking. And what's also really funny, I never saw the original Hatbox Ghost that was there for like a week. But when I saw it, I was like getting nostalgia for it. You know, just like what we were talking about with Main Street. I was like, yo, it's the Hatbox Ghost. Like, no way. I remember that back in the day. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I wasn't around in 1965. Like,
Isn't it so weird that thing, which some people argue was never even in the Haunted Mansion? There's like a few documents that say it was, but every single person is like, oh yeah, I remember that ghost. It's like, no, you don't. You don't. It's just a ghost, but I think it's got like supernatural abilities, dude. I think it's like Imagineer who like passed away is the Hatbox Ghost.
Whoa.
And so everybody like remembers him because he just makes, I don't know. That's a really stupid tangent to go on, but you know what I'm saying? Like the Hatbox Ghost is crazy. There's something fishy with Hatbox. Doesn't make any sense.
He better be there for the 50th anniversary. Bob Chapek better. I don't care if he's like, guys, money. You better find the funds to put the Hatbox Ghost in there for the 50th anniversary. Because, I mean, that would probably max $100,000, $200,000 to install that. Imagine the merchandise. You'd make your money back pretty quickly.
I mean, in Disneyland, you can meet him as a character during Halloween. He does meet and greets. It's pretty cool.
This is news to me, and I'm going to look that up. And now that makes me even more sad that I am not going to be in LA
it's like
anymore
him,
this semester.
the graveyard diggers.
Oh my God, really?
What's the other? What's the three of them? The hitchhiking ghost. I'm stupid.
Hitchhiking ghost, yeah.
But I'm like 90% sure you can meet Hatbox as well.
No way.
Anywho.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
No.
It's like, wow.
My least favorite attraction in Magic Kingdom. Oh, we're the best.
What's your best?
Yeah,
what's
man,
your best?
you haven't shared your best yet.
My bad. So here's why you guys are wrong. The best attraction in Magic Kingdom. What?
Lay it on me.
Okay. Is the Country Bear Jamboree, man.
Oh,
it's
totally
unique
forgot.
to Magic Kingdom.
Shit.
It's like a Chuck E. Cheese stage show that's risque and out of control. And it's awesome. Wow. Big Al comes out, plays some guitar. He sings Blood on the Sand. Or is it Saddle? Might be Saddle.
Blood
one of the two.
On the saddle.
Dang it, it's Saddle. Anyways, Country Bear Jamboree slaps. Might be the best attraction ever made ever. It just goes so hard. I remember sitting down and they went, sit on down, we're going to tell you the story of the Country Bear. And I looked at Lain and I was like, yo, this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
It's true. We sat around in the beating Florida sun for like 45 minutes after watching it just to see them walk around, the characters. Yeah. We like asked all the cast members were like, hey, where's Big Al? And they're like, oh, he's coming out soon. And then, we're like, we're not going anywhere.
They started coming out, but Big Al didn't. And we were like, yo, where's Big Al? And he's like, oh, he'll be another like 5 minutes. And then
we were like, all right, we're not moving.
We're not moving at all.
He came out and all of us were like, yes.
That's a steamy hot take.
Country Bear Jamboree.
I would even have to argue it's not my worst, but I would have to argue that's literally one of the worst.
Oh,
I don't know. There's just something that's just a me thing. I don't know what it is though. It's just something about that ride just makes me cringe. But I appreciate, I really love the history behind it. But I just like, the reason why I don't like it is simply for that reason of what you said. It's like a risque Chuck E. Cheese show. I'm like, does that really have a place in a Disney park? Or like, I don't know. Like it almost feels too hokey to be in a Disney park. Mm-hmm. But that's just a me thing. I get it. One of my favorite attractions is the Tiki Room. So that's pretty hokey in itself. You're just watching a bunch of birds like singing and like, but I guess the thing that makes it Tiki Room different from the Country Bears Jamboree for me is like, it's more subdued. Like it's more pulled back as opposed to Country Bears like, let's get ridiculous. We have talking animals that have been killed on the wall. Oh, and look, and it's like, don't get me wrong. I think it's cool, but I don't know. I don't know if it's like a Disney thing. It more feels like a Six Flags Over Georgia thing for me. But that's just a hot take. That's another.
Them be fighting words, Joe.
All right.
No.
Spencer, what's your worst attraction for Magic Kingdom?
All right. So this was a tough one, and it's purely because its comparison in Disneyland is 10 times the attraction it is in Florida, and that's Pirates of the Caribbean. The Florida Pirates, if you have access to go to California, is almost not worth riding. It's such like a discount, not discount. I mean, it's great. It's Pirates, but it's so like half of the attraction. It literally is like half of the attraction that the Disneyland one is.
Yeah.
The build up in the Disneyland attraction, just the ambiance. I do like the exterior of the Florida one more. I'll give it that, but the Florida Pirates is not good. Just purely because of Disneyland's is so much better. If Florida was the only one that existed, I'd be huge on it, and I'd be like, yeah, Pirates of Florida slaps. But Disneyland's is just so much better. So I had to do it to them. That was tough because I like most things in Magic Kingdom as well, but that one stuck out to me, and I was like, you know what? It's a hot take, but I think it's a take that is understandable. So that was mine. Pirates. Yeah,
I get it. My worst is Buzz Lightyear. Is that the ride fucking sucks, man. It just sucks. Like, it's so old, it's outdated, it's parts of it are kind of falling apart, and I don't really think it was that cool of a ride to begin with. And I know that's might be some fighting words, but
those be fighting words.
Yeah. But I never really liked it that much, and then it just got worse and worse. And especially like in Disneyland, where you have Toy Story Mania right there, it's like it's so much, more up to date and just a better ride than Buzz Lightyear, which is in the same park, So I don't like it. I've given this rant a lot, I think, on this show.
You're a very not Buzz Lightyear guy. I had no doubt in my mind what your worst was going to be. I was like, however,
Thanks,
will you agree with me that the Florida Buzz Lightyear is better than the California Buzz Lightyear?
Yeah.
There's that one room that's like spirally, and I remember I looked at you were like, all right, this is fine. It's like, yes.
Yes. Oh my, yeah, I actually like the Disneyland version better. And for me, this is like very picky. I don't like how at Disney World you can only do this.
Oh, that's
you know what I mean? It just kind of feels like you're confined to it.
I forgot you couldn't unholster the gun.
Yeah, no, I remember going out to California. I remember going out to riding the Buzz Lightyear ride in California for the first time, and my mind was blown. I was like,
wow,
yo, I can like take it out, like literally physically take it out of the vehicle if I wanted to. Like, I think that's dope. And like I would like this is kind of a hot take. I think the best Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger spin is the one in Shanghai. And a lot of people say no, it's not. And I'm like, because they're like, it's not as colorful and everything. And like, I think that's fair and all, but like, it has the technology and it doesn't feel cheesy in any form or fashion, kind of like the ones in America do, where, like you said, like literally in the first room at Disney World, it's a disco ball. There is an exposed disco ball, and it's like you have these like weird people sitting on a chair spinning around it. Like, I don't know what that is. Like, and so, this is just an overall take of Walt Disney World. I just wish they would renovate their rides a little bit more and do some more refurbishment. But
okay. Was that everyone's worsts?
Actually, no. I do have a worst ride, and I would have to. Okay, can I say like two? One I will spend more time on than the other.
Okay.
I don't know if we're running short on time.
No, we're fine.
Okay. My second least favorite ride, and I think this is important to note, is Peter Pan's Flight. It's by far the worst Peter Pan's Flight in any Disney park.
Wow.
It's
brutal.
It's not updated. You can just tell there's curtains everywhere. You can hear the squeaking sounds. It'd be really like, I love the queue. Just walking through the queue is like enough for me, where you get to walk through the Darlings bedroom and you can hear the music. And I'm like, that's awesome. And then after that, I'm kind of like, kind of want to get out now. But like, I just they like the one in Shanghai was just phenomenal, and I really wish that for the 50th anniversary they just be like, hey, let's just update it to like, you know, this version of the attraction, because it's so much more colorful. It does like the perfect use of screens and everything and new technology with the old animatronics, which I think would just be amazing. But yeah, my least favorite ride, I'm gonna agree with you, Spencer, is Pirates of the Caribbean. It's literally half of the ride. And because I rode it Disneyland like this past spring, and I like probably rode it like 8 times in a row almost, because I was like, this is awesome. It just feels like classic Disney. I mean, I don't understand why. I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean originally wasn't supposed to be in Walt Disney World, from my understanding, because they're like, are Floridians actually going to like pirates? And it's like, it's Florida. I think it would. So, and then they kind of threw it in there last minute, so it didn't have as much of a budget. But like, if that ride had, you know, the full out, if it was just a recreation of the Disneyland one, it would probably be a very, very busy attraction at the Magic Kingdom. And it's kind of like in the middle. It depends on the day. But I don't know. It's also not as detailed when you get into the show building itself. Like, there's more animatronics in the Disneyland version. Like, you have the people shooting from the cannons. You have the people at the fountain drinking. But at Walt Disney World, there's no one at the cannons. You just hear people yelling. And then you see chickens running around the fountain as opposed to like people. And it's like, well, why are the chickens running? No one's chasing after them. They're just running in a circle. Like,
just chickens doing their thing, man. Just being chickens.
They're just doing their thing. They're just running in a circle.
Chaos, man. Amongst the chaos. Now, I mean, like, I still enjoyed it, like, as a ride. Like, I mean, yeah, it is probably realistically half the ride is the one in California. But, you know, I still enjoyed it for what it was. I've never really, you know, shat on it or anything. But I definitely understand your guys' opinions on that. Let's move on to the final park, Hollywood Studios, which, you know, we kind of shit on a lot on this show. So I expect to see more of that. My best attraction for Hollywood Studios is Tower of Terror. It's one of, if not the best dark ride that Disney has ever done. It is so much better than the one that was at Disneyland in California, which I think does make a good ride with Guardians of the Galaxy now. But the one in Florida is it's so good, especially because I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan. So I just like it in general, the theming. I think it's a cool and interesting IP to put in a park. And yeah, I just think it's a lot better than the Hollywood racer coaster, whatever it's called.
Rock and Roller Coaster.
Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah. Hollywood Racer Coaster.
I don't know, man. I know
that's the name of the episode.
I know it's about music.
Racer Coaster.
I knew that Aerosmith was in it. I remembered that.
That's true.
I was like, Hollywood.
Hey man, we got our backstage passes.
Yeah.
With that super stretch limo.
You know how we feel about our fans.
Yeah, come on.
Come on.
They really like us, man. We're the fans. Yeah. We got backstage passes. Part of me thinks that I like Rock and Roller Coaster a lot more than I think I do, because it's so much fun to just say quotes from that ride. Yeah. Like, just to like meme it. And I'm like, do I secretly love it? And I just haven't accepted that about myself yet. I don't know. This is a discourse I've had in my mind for many moons thinking about Rock and Roller Coaster.
Spencer, what's your favorite Hollywood Studios?
My best in Hollywood Studios?
Yeah.
Again, I'm going to reiterate what I said when we talked about Epcot. This is not what I think is the best attraction in Hollywood Studios. I think that is Rise of the Resistance. Even though I haven't been on the Florida version, I assume it's just like the Hollywood version, which is the best ride I've ever been on. Okay, which is the best ride I've ever been on. So the correct answer is probably Rise of the Resistance. However, but my favorite in Hollywood Studios It's got to be Muppet Vision 3D, baby. It's
Oh,
got to be
yeah,
Muppet
dude,
Vision.
absolutely.
Come on, man. Look at me sitting here with my Kermit head. It's Muppet Vision. It's always
Dude,
been Muppet
what a
Vision.
great
It will.
monologue.
Thank you, man. It'll always be Muppet Vision.
Wow.
It was the last thing Jim Henson worked on before he passed away, which is super, super sad. It's just special. It's the only like 4D show that has stood the test of time because the whole premise is making fun of 4D shows. It's like when you see a movie that's meta but is still competent, like Cabin in the Woods, you know, not Disney at all. But it's a scary movie that makes fun of scary movies while being a scary movie.
Yeah.
That's what Muppet Vision is. It's a really stupid 4D show that knows it's a stupid 4D show and makes fun of stupid 4D shows while still being a stupid 4D show.
And
that
a good
is
4D show at
yes,
that too. Yeah, like,
it's perfect.
Yeah,
You have
that's
like
great.
the really annoying character that Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker create, like the Muppet, the 3D bug or something.
yeah.
And a lot of people I see online are like, it's so annoying. I'm like, yes, that's precisely the point because 4D shows are annoying. That's what they're doing. They're saying, guess what? We know this is dumb and we're going to really lean into that. And it's brilliant. It is a perfect piece of comedy. And who doesn't love the Muppets? Mic drop.
Nice.
I would actually say that I do know people who don't like the Muppets.
Wrong.
It's not me. It's not me.
Wrong.
Don't worry. I love the
Incorrect.
Muppets. And so we actually, my stepbrothers and I watched the 2011 Muppets last night. And it was their
So
first
good.
Muppets movie. Yeah, it was their first Muppets movie. And they were like, we didn't like it. And it was like, what do you mean you didn't like it? And it was like, oh, you mean you just didn't like the movie? And they're like, no, we don't like the Muppets. And I was like, no. And they were like, it was so cheesy. Like, why were they making fun of like movies? And I was like, that's the point. It's like literally what you're saying, Spencer. I was like, because they were like, why did she say it's going to be a short plot? Like when Kermit's like, oh, we can't get the band back together. And then it was like, this is going to be a really short movie. And me and my dad are like laughing our asses off. And then they're like, they just didn't get it. They they don't like it. But I really wish the Muppets would get more love. And honestly, I love the Muppets now. I think it's kind of a fun time. It's low stakes.
It's definitely gotten better as it went along. The pilot was a little bit tough.
Yeah.
But I think just any show that like leans into like the Zoom thing in the pandemic is kind of tough to watch because you're like,
yeah,
I'm living that right now. It's not it's like it's funny, but I'm also like my whole life is already this. I would rather the show not be that. But I mean it's the Muppets. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna like it. You know, I like those characters and stuff. So yeah,
I would love to see in Hollywood studios. And I know Bob Chapek would never do this, but if I was CEO of Disney, hey guys, if you guys are listening right now in the future and everything, pull up this footage and tell me to build this. What I would really like them to do is actually do a recreation of the Jim Henson Studios inside of Hollywood Studios, and then have like a trackless ride that actually like goes through the different studios, and it's like the different dressing rooms and like the labs and stuff. Kind of like with the 4D movie, but like in person. I think that would be awesome.
That would be the best thing ever.
I don't know. But speaking of the best rides, I want to say Rise of the Resistance because it's just phenomenal.
Still haven't been on it.
Oh, dude.
I'm sorry.
Did you at least watch YouTube videos?
No, I refuse to. I refuse to.
Wow.
He wants that organic experience, man.
That is, wow, man.
I did the same thing for Pandora.
God,
well, sort of.
I don't know how you do that, man.
But incredible patience.
That's crazy. But like, I want to say it's that. It's because the storytelling is just amazing, and it is Disney's best dark ride ever, I think. But I would just have to say that I think the Tower of Terror is the best ride at Hollywood Studios because I think it fits the most thematically with the park. Although I don't really know what the park is trying to accomplish that much anymore. Of like, I guess they're like you're actually in the movie rather than you're on a set, which I get. But there's like no transition into Galaxy's Edge. It's just kind of like you walk through a tunnel or you walk through Andy's backyard and it's literally right there. There's no transition. It's almost the same exact ground and everything. So that kind of, I like Disneyland's version better, but since we're talking about Hollywood Studios, I think Disneyland's version, a lot of people say Hollywood Studios version is better. I disagree. I think Disneyland is better. There's more seamless transition and stuff. But the ride is like, there's something about it. Like when I ride that ride, just knowing the feeling that it could have been Darth Vader in that ride, just kind of like, it kind of looms over it. And also knowing all the, it's no lie that I'm not really that much of a fan of the sequel trilogy. I liked Force Awakens. I loved The Last Jedi. And then The Rise of Skywalker just destroyed it for me. But I understand for some people on this podcast, it's the glue. And that's, hey man, I respect that. But
it had to come up.
Yeah, it had to come up. But like Tower of Terror, I just think it's more organic to the park itself. And there's just something about it where when you're walking through that hotel, you legitimately feel like you are in a hotel. Like if that makes, like when you're just like walking through it, I would have to say it just genuinely feels like you're going through a hotel that's like haunted, etc. And not knocking on Rise of the Resistance, it doesn't feel like you're walking through it. It's just when you're like the Tower of Terror has a presence over the park. When you're walking down that strip, you're like, what is that? Like, that's pretty creepy looking. And everything kind of like points in that general direction. As opposed to Rise of the Resistance is hidden in a cave. And then it's kind of like, you kind of like miss it. And you're like, oh, that's Rise of the Resistance. It's a turret. Okay. I guess I'll walk through there. But yeah, I don't know. Like it feels like I'm like walking through a Star Destroyer and everything, but there's also, I still don't know what it is. There's something about the ride that just makes me go, this feels super organic, but also very not organic. I don't know what it is. I'm still trying to figure it out.
It's like some sort of uncanny valley.
Yeah.
Or some kind of Suicide Squad.
Say it was some kind of Suicide Squad.
Wait, this is a Disney podcast, not a...
That meme is universal and will never get old.
So good, dude.
Some kind of Suicide Squad.
It's so brilliant.
Off the topic, yeah, the Suicide Squad looks great.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It does look really good. Everything from yesterday looks really, really good.
Yeah.
That Batman trailer.
Yeah, no,
Oof.
it broke the internet. It broke the internet.
Wow.
It's a good time to be a fan of DC, I would say. And
Dude, that Nirvana
Lord
song.
knows. I've got this bad boy. So I was feeling all tingly yesterday.
The Nirvana song that was in it was like so perfect for the vibe they were going for.
My first reaction was, how has no one done Nirvana in a Batman trailer before? I was like, this is the first time? Like, are you kidding me? Like, come on. Looks great.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Are we on worst attractions for Hollywood
We are
Studios
down to
now?
the worst of Hollywood Studios,
Okay.
which I'm sure will be nitty and gritty.
So, Hollywood Studios is a place with a lot of bad attractions. So it's hard to pick one that is objectively the worst. But if I had to, I would say it's probably the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular.
Whoa.
Because
That's a hot take.
it's so goofy and like, this is how we do it in the movies. And it's very, very Eisner-y to be like, this is what we do in Hollywood. I remember I know that, like, remember that part of it, Spencer, where it's like, oh, it's movie magic.
Yeah, they're like, we're gonna show you the movie magic, and we both look, me, you, and Jake all looked at each other. We're like, yeah, we don't need to see the movie magic. We went to school for 4 years about the movie magic.
And it's very out of date. Like, I'm sure it was kind of cool in the 90s or whatever, but it's kind of out of touch at this point.
Once the internet became a thing, behind the scenes movie attractions were no longer interesting because you can watch any YouTube video about a set and just like see it happening. Like there's no mystique to art anymore, which I think is a bummer, but it's just the way that it is, with like the knowledge available to the average person to like in today's world is so insane that like no one's gonna like go out of their way. Like for the mystique of movie making, because you can just watch a video and understand how movies are made. Specifically, you can watch a video about how Raiders of the Lost Ark was made, and it's way more interesting than some guy in an Indiana Jones hat going, I'm Dave, and I'm going to play Indiana Jones and do some stunts. And you go,
is he from Texas?
Yes. Dave, the Indiana Jones guy. Just Dave, I respect you, but you're boring. And then just move on.
Have you ever seen the video of Dave getting hit by the airplane propeller?
No, but I think that is more interesting than the ride.
Dude, yeah, it like, I think it's foam and everything, because like when it hit him, it like broke and started flying everywhere.
Hits him, cuts him in half. The whole crowd is just like, oh my God.
That's how we do it in the movies, see?
We sacrifice one guy on the set of every Indiana Jones movie. That got scary.
Spencer,
Indiana Jones in the
for real,
set
dude.
of doom.
Oh, no.
Spencer, what's your least favorite Hollywood Studios attraction?
Well, I honestly forgot about that show. That is in the conversation. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about me. I don't like Star Tours. I'm not big on Star Tours. I don't think it's that interesting anymore. I think Galaxy's Edge blew it out of the water in terms of Star Wars theming capability. And I like Hollywood Studios more than most. I definitely think the biggest problem with Hollywood Studios to me isn't even the attractions. It's just the layout of the park. It's really weird.
It's really weird.
It's
How
really
you have to like go
weirdly
around
designed.
the theater and
if I wasn't like actively looking, like I've never in a theme park needed to look at the signs that say like this attraction this way, because you can kind of just figure it out. You go, well, we haven't walked this way yet, and what we know is in this park,
distance,
right? Or like this, we haven't gone this way yet, and I know we haven't seen this thing yet, so it's probably over there. Hollywood Studios doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's super confusing. It doesn't follow like the very traditional successful hub and spoke model that every theme park has copied since Disney did in the 50s with Disneyland. But anyway, it's Star Tours. I just don't think Star Tours is a good attraction anymore. I think I'm not big on simulators like that, and I think there's another Star Wars simulator in the same park that's better in Millennium Falcon, purely because you can control it, and it's just really fun, and you get to yell at your friends, or you're like, drive, no, shoot, like it's versus Star Tours. Like I think the Rebel Spy thing is cute, but I just think it's had its time. I don't think it's very fun. It makes me sicker than beyond belief.
It's a shaking box.
Yeah, it's a shaking box, and I think that we're past that. Even the shaking box we got now, the new one, at least you can control, which is an interesting development.
You can shake the box.
Yeah, but it feels more like a
the
really.
box doesn't shake you.
I think Falcon is a good attraction because it feels like a big video game, and that's cool. It's like a very interactive video game. Yeah. But I don't like Star Tours, and I think it's even worse in Hollywood Studios because it's right next to Galaxy's Edge. Versus I think it should go in Disneyland, but also Tomorrowland would be kind of lacking in attractions if they did that. Actually, no, they wouldn't. They have plenty, but I think it would just be a big open space in Tomorrowland. I don't think they're ready to commit to a full Tomorrowland renovation in California yet. So I'm gonna say Star Tours, even though it's like the most boring choice for Hollywood Studios' worst attraction. I'm just not big on it. But Indiana Jones is also dumb. So both Lucasfilm things besides Galaxy's Edge are a thumbs down from me.
Like I would, I definitely like the Disneyland version better because it actually like fits in the park, as opposed to like it fit in the like in Hollywood Studios. Star Tours did fit in the the original plan for the park because they made it look like a film set and all that jazz, and they made it look like you're walking into a Star Wars film set. Like when you walked in, I don't know if you guys seen this videos, but I remember it from like a child. There would actually be the director's chair for George Lucas and like Steven Spielberg.
Oh, that's
when
cool.
you like walked in and everything, and it said like working set and the red light was going and everything. So it was like pretty cool for its time and like for the theme of the park. But now that everything is like you're going into the movies, it feels weird after you go into Galaxy's Edge, Rise of the Resistance, and you see like working AT-ATs, and you just see one that's sitting there and you're like, oh, look, it's an AT-AT, and you go behind it and it's literally just scrim. Like you could see all the pipes and the lights behind it and everything. It just, I don't know.
You're like, yo, there's a ride around the corner where one of these shoots at me.
Exactly.
This is not that interesting.
I want that one. But I think it'd be kind of cool if they like actually because it's not even really connected to Galaxy's Edge, because you got Star Tours, Muppets, and then Galaxy's Edge.
Well, that was going to be my other point too that I
Yeah.
forgot is you had an opportunity to kind of bridge it and almost have it be like a transportation way, kind of how like the
Right.
Hogwarts Express and Universal is, where it like leads
Yeah.
you to the thing, but they didn't. So I'm like, oh, so you have like a bad simulator and you had an opportunity to make it cool and then you still didn't. So I'm just, I mean, obviously like Star Tours is a fine attraction and it's fun. It just makes me sick and I'm just like not big on that style. But yeah, back to you, Joe. Sorry.
Oh no, it's all good. I just I think it'd be kind of cool to see them put it in Galaxy's Edge and like theme it to like, hey, we're leaving from Batu. We're gonna take you to another planet, and then something goes wrong. It's like just kidding, going to Batu. I mean, still like kind of the same plot of Rise of the Resistance. Although, at what moment were they like? Because they're like, guys, we're taking you to the secret Leia base and everything. And then at what moment were they like, just kidding, we're actually sending you back to Batu. Our bad. I
Don't
guess it was
spoil it,
caught.
Joe.
I'm sorry, Lane.
Okay.
He said he's just okay.
That's all right.
Oh, my worst ride. Okay.
Yeah, man.
I love Toy Story Land. I think it's
Okay.
cool and all. But there was a lot more potential of what they could have done with it. They just invested a little bit more rather than kind of going a little bit cheap on it. And alien swirling saucers is just a mess. Like, why is it there? Like, it's literally, we already have a bunch of attractions that go in a circle and where you go, and it's for the kiddos and everything. But like, they could have really have tried to do something that's slightly different. I don't know. I mean, like, I understand they're trying to make Hollywood studios more, like, they're trying to have more kid-friendly attractions there. But I also need, like, I think they need to embrace that, hey, we have a lot of adult attractions here, and that's just the way the park is. It's for, like, young teenagers up to, like, adults. And I think it would have been really cool because in Shanghai, they have RC Racer. I think that's like the name of it, where it's like Rex. The storyline is that Rex is controlling RC to go like up and down the like Hot Wheels track loop. And I thought the ride was like, looking at the ride, I was like, oh, that looks like nothing and everything. But it's one of those rides where you like start up and it goes like up and then you go straight down and it kind of like does like a U shape. But that ride was amazing and I had a great time with that. And I was like, that would have been really cool if they would have had something like that at Hollywood Studios, and it would have ate up a lot of people too. A lot of people would have been trying to ride that ride. Which would,
I mean, Aliens Flying Saucers still gets like a crazy wait time, which is
like
insane.
2 hours when we were there. We were like, I mean, like,
really?
It looks like
it goes in circles. I don't know.
It looked like it'd be like fun for the kiddos. We all were like, yeah, we're not going to wait in the line. It looks cute enough. And then we were like, 2 hours.
Like, to go a minute and a half being like,
you can see the whole thing right there. It just is.
Hey,
yeah,
it goes in circles. I'm willing to wait for it.
Yeah, I guess.
Mad Tea Party.
I mean, if you got little kids, I get it. Like I do, but that's a crazy wait. For aliens swirling.
I would wait.
I do like the giant buzz
20
statue.
minutes top.
It made me smile when I saw him. I went, nice.
Nice.
And on that note, we'll wrap things up. Thanks, Joe, for joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
It's always
man.
nice to bring in the glue.
Yeah, it's always nice to bring the glue to us. Let people know, what you're doing, what you're up to, where they can find you.
So you can find me on Instagram at The Real Joseph Johnson. I went ahead and claimed that just in case. But yeah, you can find me there on Instagram. I'm currently, if there's anyone listening to this that has any ties to the industry, film industry, hey, I'm looking for an internship.
Heck yeah.
So contact Lain, contact Spencer, please. I'm trying to find stuff so I can graduate.
Help a boy out.
God.
Help a boy out.
Getting too real.
Yeah, and also I'm going to Disney this upcoming week.
Yes, you are. Tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna be there
today
tomorrow.
when the thing uploads. So when it drops, you'll be in Disney World.
Yeah, I'll be in Epcot. doing the food and wine, or excuse me, a taste of the food and wine festival.
Wow.
Like whatever that means.
Nice.
So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Well, we
time.
look forward to having you on after you get back,
Anytime,
and
yeah.
seeing from a ground's eye view what's going on in Disney World and what it's like. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Disney Deconstructed podcast. If you'd like to further support our program, go ahead and visit us at anchor.fm/Disney Deconstructed. There, you can see a complete list of our podcast distributors, send us messages related to the show, and even sign up to make a monthly donation so that we can keep rolling out these episodes in a timely manner for you. Feel free to follow us on Twitter at Lain Calder, at Jake Moody98, and at Spencer Bennett7. You can also spread the word by telling a friend about our show and help us grow our small community of Disney fanatics. As always, thank you for listening, and we'll be back with more Disney news next week. Writing, producing, and editing for this episode of the Disney Deconstructed podcast was done by my two co-hosts, Jake Moody and Spencer Bennett, and myself, Lain Calder. The music for our program was composed by Brandon LaBelle. The font for our logo was designed by Edward Pincava. Our beautiful faces were drawn by Sarah Bermudez. Disney Deconstructed is a proud participant in the Deconstructed Podcast Network, link in the description. Thanks for joining us, folks, and we'll see you down the bayou.